What's up, everybody? Ike here again, and starting up a new series here on YouTube, Trucker 101. I know there's a lot of drivers who do videos similar to this, and well, this is my version. My Trucker Right You series is kind of getting like a little bland, and I need to shake things up here on the channel. So, anyways, I'm going to start off with a topic that I get asked all the time, and it is how do I get started? What trucking school do I go to? What company do I go to? Answers. I need answers. I get that, and I needed answers too. So when I started, before I move any further here in the video, let me just say this, that if you don't like listening to country boys talk, and if I'm slow to the point, that's because that's just the way I am. So deal with it. So that's all I can tell you. But I'm just going to be myself on this. Anyways, back to my point. I got to put that out there because in previous videos that drivers just kind of stumbled on, they're like, get to the point, hurry up, you talk too slow, you're just a country boy. Well, guess what? You're right. So there you go. You're not going to get any fights from me. So back to the point that y'all want to hear, but I'm not going to answer these questions specifically because not every driver's the same. You may live in Florida, but that I can't give you the answers because I'm here in Texas. The answers for here in Texas are not the same as in Florida. What you want to do may be not something that I want to do. If you live in Wisconsin, the answer is not going to be the same as if you live in North Carolina. Just that type of thing. What trucking company do you go to, or what school you go to? That's one thing you need to think about. If you have your CDL, that's good. However, big companies want you to go through a trucking school. Some trucking companies have their own trucking school, like Stevens Transport, like Swift Transportation, like CR England, and some various other ones. Those are the main big three that have their own trucking school, from scratch. I do believe maybe p.a.m. has that, but I'm not I'm not really for sure on specific companies that have their own trucking school. Now, there's a lot of private schools that these same companies hire from, and the advantage of going through private trucking school is that you have options, and usually they're 3, 4, 5 weeks long, right? And you have options of what company you want to go to, and that's the thing, that's where you're looking for your fit for your lifestyle, what you want to do. And so how do you get started doing that? Well, find you a trucking school in your area. Now, if there's nothing in your area, look for something that's closest. And look for something that has a good reputation too. Don't go through these CDL mills. Do some research. Do research like this video right here. Other videos that people do on YouTube. Also look at the truckersreport.com. TheTruckersReport.com. There's a forum there. Every trucking school, every trucking company are almost, at least, are all covered, and people have their experience. They share their experiences with that particular company. So check that out. Do your your research. That's what I'm looking for. Do your research on the company. Don't take my word as gold for you, as gospel for you, because it may not be that. The way I started, I came through a private school. I had my options. I went through Werner Enterprises, and that was the option that worked for me at the time. So now most trucking companies that you know will want you to go through school, like I said, but most trucking companies will have you out on the road with the trainer for about some companies like Schneider does it for like 2-3 weeks, and it's really intense. But then you have other companies like Werner and some of these Swift and all these that you're out longer. Each one of those has their advantages. That's not what this video is about, because I'm not a recruiter for any of those companies. I work for Schneider. I'll probably be more biased when people ask me, well, what company I go to. So, hey man, Schneider treats me fine. But I came on to Schneider as an experienced driver. I didn't come on as a rookie. So take that for what it's worth. Like I said, if you do go through Schneider, there's a lot of material to go through, and I'll go through that on another video. But as for now, when you get started, first of all, look through it. Look for a trucking school. Trucking schools cost money, so have that in mind. Whether if you go through a company paid trucking school, most of the time you got to sign a contract. Be careful with that. Do your research. Are you single? You can be on the road all the time. That's great. Are you married? Have kids? You may want to look at real closer to your options. Because when you're getting on the road for the very first time, it's hard. It's a hard strain on the family, and probably more so for them than it is you, because you're on the road driving. They're the ones having to suffer without a dad, without a mom, and only living with little small paychecks. Paychecks are small starting off, but as you get on your own, they'll of course get bigger. Find your trucking school. Do your research on the trucking schools. During your time at the trucking schools, do your research on the companies. Just depends on what you want to do. Flatbed, reefer, dry box, tanker. There's all sorts of things to do. If you want to do OTR, if you want to be dedicated, lots of things to do. Lots of home time available. So, and you don't, let me get this out there here for, when you start off, you don't have to be OTR. When you get in your own truck, after you're done training, you don't have to be OTR. Depending on where you live, you could have dedicated and regional runs that get you home weekly, okay? Don't let people tell you that, oh, you have to put in your time doing OTR. No. Certain companies make you do that, like the Stevens and the Cree and all that. But the big companies like Schneider, you can go and have a good regional run, a good dedicated run. Same with Swift and Werner and everything. That's what makes things more appealing for the big companies. If you want to have a family life but get paid good at the same time, you gotta look at the big companies and see what kind of home time they have, because the smaller companies are mainly OTR, and those aren't good for family time, that's for sure. But like I said, if you do your research on this, go to thetruckersreport.com, thetruckersreport.com, and do your research there. Do your research here on YouTube. You gotta go to school. If you do have your CDL, you could probably find a company who will take you without school. But if you want the options, big options, check out going to school and stuff of that nature. Alright, well that wraps things up for this first trucking 101. We'll have more to do with training. you know, like what to bring when you're on your trainer's truck, and what to expect, and all this sort of thing, and various things outside the truck, you know, the things that we do, and maybe some hints and tips along the way. But this is video number 1. Hopefully this will answer the questions. Kind of, I know it's vague, but when you sit there and ask me a question, you live in Indiana, so alright, well, how do I get started? You don't know how vague that is to me, because I don't know anything. When a lot of people say, how do I get started? They don't even tell me where they're at. How do I get started? What company do I go to? It all depends on your location. All depends on what you're willing to do, what your family life is, and, you know, so if you don't want a vague answer, don't give me a vague question. But like I said, I could tell you what it's like down here in Texas, but, you know, when you get outside of here, there's, you know, I'm not that knowledgeable, because I don't live in Indiana, I don't live in Florida, I don't live in Wisconsin. I can tell you for Texas that, like, you know, you could go through ATDS out of Waco. You could also go through Stevens Transport or CR England, do their training. Swift has their training. If you go to a private school, come to Schneider, we can hook you up. You'll be on the road faster through Schneider. And Schneider has a lot of opportunities down here in Texas. So, hey, there you go, 73. Oh, and by the way, if you're kind of new to all this, check out Trucker Rag Chew. Has my basic day-to-day life, well, you know, for the last 2 years of driving the truck. I've been driving for over 10 years now, but I've been doing videos for about 2 years. So the last 2 years I've had my day-to-day life on the road through the Trucker Rag Chew series. So check that out, and check me out on Facebook, facebook.com/KE5WDP. That's it, 73.